Why do we hate? Mississippi Burning is a story that dives into the grim nature of hatred, of animosity, and it questions how justice or retribution takes shape amongst those that are willing to try and fight against it. Originally, I picked this film because of the talks of its cinematography. However, experiencing this film and diving a little bit more into the context within it, this first watching and first reaction is something that has me now questioning more of the integral parts of the story outside of the cinematography. Why do we hate? The psychological standpoint of why humans seem to always fight amongst one another. Where does it come from? What can we do about it? And how can we truly change for the better of people and, more importantly, for our children? This film does not shy away from the grotesque nature, and it does not shy away from the unfortunate realities that we walk on when it comes to answering the question of that nature. And I hope throughout this experience, as I watch this film for the first time, not only do you get a little bit more in the psyche of how I tend to view life, how I try to go about my life, but also in hopes of understanding the hatred that comes from the history and that can potentially come within the future. Mississippi Burning, as much as it is a retelling of history, seems to be a warning, a forewarning of what's to come if we just simply repeat ourselves, if we instead do not open ourselves to conversation and to dialogue, so that way we can march together physically in order to actually do something about the injustice that is walking amongst this earth. I hope that throughout this experience, not only do I tackle psychological questions that definitely leave me vulnerable, but I'm also able to help provide a pathway towards these answers with using the art of filmmaking, the art of storytelling, and the reason why this channel is existing in the first place. I hope that throughout the retelling of Mississippi Burning and what we're about to get into, it doesn't cause unnecessary hatred amongst you guys. I hope it doesn't make you guys too uncomfortable. But this is important. And I hope that you guys take the time to, sit with this and really journey into this story, along with me. And I'm truly grateful enough to be able to do something like this and to understand filmmaking and the language within it, to hopefully find answers within myself, and at the very least help pamper me as a person who's aware to see a lot of the injustice and the things that happen amongst this world and the frustrations that grow from it. So again, I just want to say I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I hope that you guys enjoy yourselves as we deep dive into this film, Mississippi Burning. I also want to make sure I say rest in peace to Gene Hackman. I was planning on doing this film prior to the events that happened with Gene Hackman and his wife. This is definitely not something I just did because of the recent news. You can even ask people who are on the Patreon. I was planning this film a month and a half ago. So with that being said, I'm excited to see Gene Hackman in what is to believe, at least from what my parents have told me, to be a raw form, a powerhouse film that is given a wonderful performance by Gene Hackman. So with that being said, again, rest in peace, Gene Hackman, and it's a pleasure to be able to watch the histories of your work. And with that being said, let's jump into Mississippi Burning. Again, this is my first time watching this film. I highly recommend, conversations down below. Keep it cordial, don't get too emotional, y'all. You guys didn't get paid to be in this film. But I hope to see some good debates down below, or just good comments in general. crazy, man. 100 years ago. Not even. And there we go. We got Gene Hackman and William Dafoe. Wow. Again, I'm going into this completely blind. So, forgive me for being shocked by, well, probably a lot of things within this film. Yeah, I want to go back a little bit. Let's go back. You guys let me know. Is there anything within this frame right here that is related to just how the design of the fountains are? You guys let me know. I'm not sure if one's supposed to be cleaner, one's supposed to be more used for the public, and maybe one is like a little bit more purposely dirty, but I'm curious because on the white section, the fountain's black, and on the colored section, the fountain's white. As much as these films are probably painful to experience, I am excited and curious to see what type of difficult conversations they tackle, you know, on both sides. I wonder if the burning of this house is it either just, you know, almost like a feeling, like a statement towards the overall theme because of Mississippi burning, or are we watching future events? Maybe events that kick off this entire film. Wow, that is a gorgeous shot. Oh my goodness. Look at those rolling roads to the left side, the isolated darkness to the right. The reason why I chose this film is because it actually won the cinematography poll. So as much as I'm going to be exploring this film and its story, I'm also going to be tackling its cinematography. It's almost like watching Animal Planet, where like the predator is stalking its prey. You just feel something bad's about to happen.
Better stop.
Okay, sit tight, you guys. Don't say anything. Let me talk. All right, we'll be all right.
Goodness gracious, man. I'll be honest with you, but this is how I feel when, you know, I either get pulled over for something I didn't do or just anything like that. Just a feeling of helplessness.
You call me man, Jew boy.
No, sir. What should I call you?
You don't call me nothing, nigger-loving Jew boy. You just listen.
Yep. That's the energy that is being met with.
Hell, you even starting to smell like a nigger,
Merle?
boy.
Is that you, Merle? Of course you, man. Of course you're. Of course.
Oh, it don't make no difference no more.
Oh my God!
Shit, we into it now, boys.
Oh wow! Oh wow! That's crazy! Oh man! Oh wow! Goodness gracious! Man, like, it's crazy, man, because despite everything that you hear about what happened and everything, there is still this, I guess, this weird humanity, I guess, I still have where there's some sort of hope. But, man, nah. There was just there was just no humanity, man.
You don't like me much, do you, boss?
Sure, I like you. I just don't share your sense of humor.
Sometimes that's all you got left.
Wow. I wanted to pause that. I'm happy that I'm able to pause, you know, these styles of videos, but it was interesting. We already gave a good perspective on the two characters here, just within that sentence, just within the context within the scene. I think that was so beautifully done. You know, obviously Gene Hackman's character singing the song from the Ku Klux Klan, and we have Willem Dafoe's character not finding any humor in it. However, and Gene Hackman's character saying that, I mean, what if that's all you have left? And I'm sure a lot of you guys can feel that during situations where you just get numb to things, or there's just too much of things, and your response to it is just to try to make a joke of it. I think that brilliantly describes these two characters so far. That was really well done.
Never, never, never I say, 'cause the Ku Klux Klan is here too.
I'll tell you what about Mississippi or anything down south. There are more churches than gas stations. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Federal Bureau of Immigration. That get up, you ain't exactly undercover.
Wasn't as funny as you thought, my guy.
Listen to me, you backwoods shit-ass you. You're gonna...
Oh, damn. Yeah, he seems like the muscle.
You gonna want your boy in on this?
Sheriff, I'm Special Agent Ward, and I'm in charge.
You know what's crazy? The fact that this investigation is 20 times harder because you're not sure who did it, because everybody has that damn energy.
What I think it is, it's a publicity stunt cooked up by that mob.
Humanity seems cooked here. Makes their job that much more difficult.
What to check in every hour, and if they're arrested the moment they're released from custody. The hotel is 2 minutes from the jail. They could have phoned from the lobby.
I'm only going to pause this because, again, brilliant way of introducing story points. I love that we opened up with a scene that essentially, obviously, we know the context historically, but when it comes to this specific story, unless you know about this specific story historically, we don't know too much about why they were approached. Obviously, we can assume that there was because of the fact that there was a black guy in their car, but now we're getting context as the story flows and progresses that they were activists. So, again, just a really clever way of just providing information in an organic sense without having to, pump your viewers and your audience, or even just inflate your story with unnecessary composition. I'm going to go back to that frame. Again, this might be just me nitpicking, but again, I'm going to explore the cinematography, and of course the composition right here, at least from its first instance, is really well done. I mean, obviously we have, the two black men on the bottom frame of this composition while we see, it's an organic way of showing segregation without, obviously the obvious signs of it. And again, this is one of the reasons why I chose this film is because of the cinematography. So it is something that I am going to be exploring as well, and how it tells the story.
Want to look at a menu while you wait?
Sure enough. Thank you.
Well, what y'all gonna do, wait or leave?
I want to clarify, too, that I've had some of the best hospitality in the South. It's crazy. You see incredible humanity and feel the lack of it at the same time.
I'm looking for some information.
Ain't got nothing to say to you, sir.
Yeah, you're going to have to see if you can get them out of that place, because everybody's just intimidating them.
Boys came here to propose setting up a voter registration clinic. Before the locals got a chance to say yes, the Klan burned them down.
So now we got context to that scene of this place burning down. It was supposed to be a voter establishment. Talk about the burning of democracy. At what cost? Just because we're different shades of skin? Unfortunately, yes. My goodness, man. The amount of rage and frustration that's within me is going to be very hard. This is going to be very difficult, but I'm going to try my best to keep it cool. But if I wild out, you're just going to have to embrace it. I don't know what to tell you.
Get their heads cracked open.
Did it ever occur to you that maybe they believed in what they were doing?
Does it ever occur to them they're gonna end up dead?
Maybe.
I want to pause this because, again, we're getting a little bit more context, even just within Gene Hackman's character. It seems like he's aware of what is happening, but maybe because he originally said that he was a sheriff within Mississippi, it might be that he's still a little bit blinded by the evil that is really lurking underneath this story. And maybe this story, as it goes on, this is all just me, just guessing here, that as the story unravels, he's truly going to come to terms with the absolute horror and just nature of these people, of the place that he grew up in, of the place that he has to come to terms that he's been around and truthfully accepting. And I wonder how that's going to be. I wonder how he's going to, because he is a smart person. You could tell he's a smart person. He's aware. He's not the type of person to, just willfully beat up on somebody, but he's aware. He's conscious of it. And I'm curious, whenever this film continues and unravels, will this character finally see with his eyes fully open just how horrible this is? And what will that do towards his character? Because it seems like his eyes just aren't as open just yet. It almost seems like, again, relating to what we said earlier, that this is all just laughter, and not in like a ha-ha sort of way where he's laughing, but he's almost like, that's the only thing that I can do. So let's see if that's something that is tackled as the film continues, but that is something I wanted to point out as well.
I guess he was ashamed. He looked at me and he said, if you ain't any better than a nigger, son, who are you better than?
You think that...
That was a complicated story to wrap around. There was a lot to digest there. I'm going to keep this going, but man, that was a lot to digest there.
No, it's not an excuse to this story about my daddy.
Where's that leave you?
An old man who was just so full of hate that he didn't know that being poor was what was killing him.
Gonna pause that, because there is a conversation where classism is in fact a major, if not the key component, to where this hatred, where this racism really divulges from. Now, that's not an excuse at all. Just because, you're poorer than someone else or someone else is richer than you, that doesn't give you an excuse to, obviously, be racist towards them. But in fact, we have to break down the problem. How does this hatred truly become a thing? I think classism is a component as well, but I think there's also brainwashing. And brainwashing is probably a component to something else. It could be religion, but it could also be, because of how much of a veil, classism is. But yeah, I'm happy that that story tackled it. And I'm happy that this conversation tackles it, because it's like, where does this come from? In the story of the father here, it was because he was poor and he was ashamed of it. And seeing another person that was different than him, doing better than him, creates a hatred that is so bafflingly ignorant that it just causes all these events to happen. I'm happy they just tackled that. That was great. I want to go back and see this scene out for what it's worth. Look at the kinetic energy, the rush, and obviously just like the maneuvering from William Dafoe, because that was all him. He was doing that. I mean, obviously he was much younger, but look at this man move. Man, the desperation, I feel like that scene creates is something else, isn't it? And again, I'm pausing it because I want to clarify that, I did choose this for the cinematography purposes. And look at this frame. We have the burning cross to the left of him, William Dafoe's character in the center of the frame with the red glow of the neon just representing something else. I love that all the organic lighting sources were already shown to us. However, if we're seeing this out of the context of where the lights are coming from, this scene speaks for something else. You can interpret it for something else. And I mean, just from the scene alone, for me, in my opinion, it looks like he's getting ready to battle hell. He's where the demons are. Beautiful shot. Oh my goodness. That was a wonderful shot. Just the tracking camera showing all the people that are being sent out to this location for the investigation. Bars. Jesus. Put him into a damn cage with cotton all around. And he is traumatized. Has every right to be. I mean, this is during the time where you can genuinely lose your life. That's nothing to play around with. And similar to William Dafoe's character, there is nothing to laugh at.
Big shot. It's a clan.
No pointy hats, but plenty of pointy heads.
No pointy hats, but only pointy heads. That's interesting.
Here. White culture and the colored culture. Now, that's the way it always has been. That's the way it always will be.
Crazy. And that right there, I feel like is something that, you know, the character that is in this position is probably beaten down by over and over and over again. That's just the way things are. But at a certain point, I do feel that something has to change within this character. I really do feel this story, despite where it goes, is going to transform his viewpoint to where he is going to enact and do something. He is going to stand out and do something. But maybe they could also take the route of where it just seems so impossibly grand and just, it's like dipping into a deeper puddle that you can almost not do anything about it. But despite his laughter, despite his lack of doing anything, here he is. And he's still trying, despite his father, despite him living and growing up in Mississippi. He's still trying his best in his own way. And I am curious to see how that grows, because I do sense a frustration. It's just, I mean, he's lived all his life here.
It's the only time when a black man can wave a stick at a white man and not start a riot.
How about that? Damn. I think he's also using his laughter and his jokes to kind of jab his way at people. Like, he's trying, but it's just a different form rather than his other, you know, his partner.
Sir. Check.
It's funny how he's actually amongst the people, whereas the other one is with the Bureau. Brilliant actress. Oh my God. She's in this as well, huh? Man, what a powerhouse of a film, right?
I hate the way I look, you know. What do you think? A permanent wave, maybe, or a bleach job or something? Now, look.
Again, I love that this character is engaging with the people here, and the other one is trying to do his best to do something within the Bureau. I feel like it's a combination of the two, and I like the parallels between these characters here.
And there's a colored kid also.
Do you honestly think you people be down here at all if one for those two white boys?
Maybe not, miss.
Mrs.
How about that? That was a really great question. That was a very great question. I didn't even think of that. That's very interesting.
Ain't right having blood on Main Street. How'd that look on the TV news?
Oh, man. Jesus, man. I can feel it in my gut, man. It's deep within my gut. I like every time I feel that, it makes my ears flare.
Good morning.
These Native Americans? Wow, I don't think I've actually ever seen Native Americans down south in like catfish country. That's wow. I mean, yeah, it makes sense if you just follow history, right? I think this might be why they purposely have this happen, but I could be wrong. I'm just pausing this because just, again, what I like to do as a photographer, and what a photographer, photography teaches you when you add it into cinematography, is the power of a single frame and what you can do with it when you don't even have the context within it. And I think that increases your levels of interpretation and maybe gives you avenues to the story, the overall story, that otherwise would have been hidden if you try to just look at it, if you look at it as an objective rather than subjective. But this scene right here with the men in suits following after this Native American who's going through the swamps of the South, not only is it just like an incredible shot, and I've never seen anything quite like it. It almost looks like a painting. But man, does it really, really speak a lot of volumes as to just the depths and the levels people are going to have to go in order to see this case through. And that's even if it is able to be seen through. And that's where the car is. Man.
Don't do it, Mr. Ward. Let's start a war.
It was a war long before we got here.
The thing is, they're both right. They're both right. But something needs to be done, right? Wow. Burning the church, man. The church. That is crazy, man. I feel like I'm starting to understand why the title of Mississippi Burning is so integral, because this entire case might genuinely have Mississippi burning. I want to go back to this frame here. Again, just looking at this frame and obviously the context of our character here, it's so interesting how his viewpoint is. And I'm curious to see if he's almost hindering himself because he actually doesn't have what his other partner's viewpoint is. Again, we mentioned this before, but it seems like he's trying to solve this by the force of the Bureau. When in fact, and also unfortunately, the Bureau, despite its power, can only do so much. If you just look and understand the history of America. And I find it interesting how the other character is trying to unravel the story by talking to the people, the citizens within it. I do think that the answer is in between both of these two characters here and their fight and their journey towards finding the answers. But this frame is definitely a good composition of just how our character and his mindset is when it comes to tackling a force such as racism.
I don't suppose you could tell me what kind of flower these are, could you? I've been seeing them all over the place here.
See what I'm saying? That is wonderful. These characters are incredible. I am so happy that, first off, it's being played by these two actors, but man, the way that they bounce off of one another. Again, Willem Dafoe's character just coming in with the Bureau language. Even though his heart is good and is meant in the right place, these people are hurt and they are scared, they are in pain. And I love how Gene Hackman's character, even though he may not feel the same action and call to force as Willem Dafoe's character, he's able to tackle this in a different way by approaching their humanity. I find that to be truly incredible. I really do.
The reason people don't want to talk to you is because they're afraid it'll get back to the law.
We are the law.
Not around here, you ain't.
Yep. How about that?
And those three boys. They were here to help you.
It ain't
What is the meaning of the law when you are in a lawful country but in a lawless state?
You don't eat together?
He works funny hours. You think that's odd?
No, I work funny hours myself.
I want to pause this as well, because this as I'm watching the scene, this feeling of like this impulse of wanting to say we're all a slave to something keeps popping up in my head. Just seeing this, it might be his wife or just somebody he's seeing, but I'm assuming that his wife. Just seeing the cage that she's in, having to like go up, make the food. I mean, it's a very stereotypical like housewife that was in the 1900s, nuclear family and everything. And I'm not sure. I mean, this is going on a limb. This is all interpretation, but just seeing this lady and how she almost feels like she's in a cage is interesting. It really is. And that feeling of like we're all a slave to something really brings up something, whereas like, you could be a slave to hatred. You could be a slave to money. You could be a slave to religion. You could be a slave to a lot of things. But man, obviously within the context of this film, I feel like it just hits a little bit harder. But I just wanted to, get that out just because of the context of her character and how she could potentially be important later on in the story.
Looking for the guy she's going to marry, and spends the rest of her life trying to figure out why.
There's something wrong with him. He's too confident.
What? Did you see the wedding photograph?
Well, I'm happy I said something earlier because I think that depicts a little bit about the prison that she might have been in. Wow, I love how the light is just illuminating within the scene, sparkling off of the flowers. It's a great excuse to do some reconnaissance work. Is that what it's called? The scientific word for recon?
How about you?
You know the South, Mr. Anderson.
This is an interesting composition. I love the lighting that is behind the two. I wonder if there's going to be anything happening within that scene or within that room. I was just about to say, this can't be anything good since they showed us only their feet. They're still trying to find a church, and they're still finding ways to sing and to be together, and unfortunately, it's just not enough. God, look at this frame. Goodness gracious, man. It's horrible, man.
That will be when we all...
Jesus, man. It's just women, children, men, old men. Just, my God.
For victory.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that in.
You already been told.
Just in case if one of y'all just is still on the fence. And of course that's Meryl. I could tell it's Meryl.
How do you think the Negroes have been treated here in Mississippi?
They're treated about fair. About as good as they ought to be.
Whoever edited this did a phenomenal job. This film has so much intention and direction that's like the one saving grace that I am clinging on to when it comes to scenes like this, because I want to get so heated. There's such a visceral urge to want to hop through the screen and do something. But the one saving grace that I do rely on is obviously that this film is in good hands. As we just talked about with the characters, the writing, the cinematography, this is within good hands. And it's one of the reasons why, I also want to showcase this just from the off chance that somebody, that shares the sentiment of, the people that are very much evil within this film. If you're watching this, you're going to learn today.
Bye, hon. I'm gonna be a couple hours.
All right.
Well, Mary, is that your Betsy's kid?
Yeah, she's growing up real.
Oh, man. This whole entire triangle right here is just so dynamic, it's insane. The fear, the love, the innocence, the pain, all of it just within this short little scene here.
And an American. And I am getting sick and tired of the way many of us Mississippians are having our views distorted by you newspaper people and on the TV.
Okay, I want to pause that because he just said something that I think goes back to what Gene Hackman's character, Mr. Anderson, said about his father. So you see how he dodged that question here. And we can see this even today within politics. So with Gene Hackman's character, Mr. Anderson, saying about his father, saying that it was shame, you know, that brought forth this hatred towards, you know, his actions. It was shame. We're hearing this word shame, shame, shame. You can see the shame. You can feel the shame. And I feel like that's why people don't claim the actions that they do. I'm sure that you probably heard something of a similar thing from other people as well too, but this is something that I share as well too. If you're going to do something, be about it. You know, if you're going to do something, you should have no regrets. You should have no shame. And if there is shame, you should embrace it, because as a human being, it's your right, right? You should be able to just, you know, embrace who you are. And obviously, you know, you can't, like, consequences comes from that. But at the point at which I'm trying to say here is that it's interesting, all the questions that are being dodged, and more so just trying to dodge the shame. You know, him saying, I'm a businessman, I'm a local businessman, I'm American, I'm a father, I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm a that. Look, I have responsibilities. Look, I have this. I'm just like you. I have a job. I have a family. I'm just like any other regular human being. However, all that is just running from the shame of who they are actually. And I'm telling you, like, you can see it today. It's in a different form, but I'm telling you, people run away from shame. And it creates very twisted people. It confuses people. And I think they act out on that confusion.
Turks, Mongols, Tartars, Orientals, nor Negroes, because we're here to protect Anglo-Saxon democracy and the American way.
I mean, he was very adamant on that. It's shameful, but until they, like, you know, start rambling and continue talking, you can almost see the unraveling happen before they probably have to will it back in. It's like almost like a fishing line, right?
On one goal line. He puts a whole other team on the other goal line. The whole other team, he throws aboard the ball, and he says...
I love how when he walks in the room, he always walks in with a smile. Again, that is just a great trait that this character has. He dismantles the evil with his smile.
That they ain't gonna change us one bit. Unless it's over my dead body. Or a lot of dead niggers.
I'll tell you what, this man has played a racist his entire life. Goddamn, Merle.
So you might as well pack up your bags and head your ass on back up north where you belong. Wake up!
I was about to say, I was like, who do you think you're grabbing?
Brains in your dick if you think we're just gonna fade away. We're gonna be here till this thing's finished. How about you, Dip?
This is the first cathartic release within this damn film.
Thanks for the beer.
He said, cats got your balls. Man, felt good. I'm sure he disagrees.
Will be destroyed in such a movement. I, for one, under God, will die before I'll yield 1 inch.
I'm just going to make this one-off comment. They look so stupid. I'm sorry, those outfits are so stupid.
Been on the radio all day.
You guys could have gotten some better outfits, man. That is hilariously dumb.
Can of worms only opens from the inside.
These two are both correct. They're both correct. I would recommend them both continue trying in their own ways. I like how they're showing this. We're not being told what's being said there, but within the context, we can definitely put pieces together. That was a great choice to do.
Here they come.
And they're just watching it happen. That is insane, man. Insane.
There's the truck. Go up that little road there.
Oh, man. The intensity of this scene right here, just having the camera in the back seat with the only visible lighting from the headlights, man. That was a surreal shot right there.
What's wrong with these people?
Wow. That face right there. That face right there is what we talked about earlier. As soon as this film started and we got introduced to these characters and their ways of existing and how they digest information with Mr. Anderson, like we said earlier, I'm curious to see how much he's willing to see before the smiles go away. And I feel like this is just one of the potential many instances that he's going to have to confront. And I'm curious to see what happens when those smiles go away.
I resent your public pursuit of my sheriff's department. You have made every effort to implicate them in these disappearances, but your God.
I knew I recognized him. That's the drill sergeant. I was trying to figure out who he looks like. It's a drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket.
For a moment there, Mr. Anderson, sounded like we were both on the same side.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a whole lot more of that. Unfortunately, it's going to come at the cost of things getting more intense. Goodness, man. Goodness. Imagine somebody just setting your house on fire, man. Oh my goodness.
Around these dog trots with their little notebooks. Gonna get you nowhere.
Okay. What would you do?
Finally, right? You can't deny the fact that the more steps he takes, the more houses are getting burnt. It's about time he listened to him.
The defendants will rise. In this country.
Wow, shout out to that kid. That was brave. He was able to spot them out, and now here we are in the actual court. Let's see if the court can actually do something.
And their presence here has provoked a lot of people.
Oh, man. You got the damn judge saying this?
I'm going to sentence you each to 5 years imprisonment.
This is something, but what the hell? Are they burning the livestock? Is that what they're doing? Oh my God, man.
Take your mama, your grandmama, and the children out the back door. You hear? When you hit the road, keep going. You understand? Keep going, son.
God, that is a nightmare. That is an absolute nightmare. This haunting music that keeps thumping in the background. Oh my goodness. Jesus, man, this is hard to watch, man. But watch we have to, man. Good. Oh my God, that is so heartbreaking. Goodness gracious.
It's gonna be just fine.
What a shot. What a frame. I'm almost scared to pause because I don't want to sit with that. I feel like if I pause anyway, I'd be speechless.
I don't understand you, Mr. Anderson. Not at all.
Let's get something straight, all right? This whole...
All right, before they get into it, this is going to be their second conflict here. Let's see if there's anything that has changed within the previous one, because I'm sure there is.
To me, they're just kids. They're still missing.
What's missing is the 50 minutes Pell said he was with his wife.
And they each bring up great points. Great points.
I love Mississippi.
These parallels, what they do with the editing is diabolical. Absolutely diabolical.
Chicago!
This is crazy. It's just wild to witness just the birth of America as the nation prior to, well, after the demolish and murder of the Native Americans. It's just so sad. I don't know. I promise I try to keep myself from saying anything too crazy, but I'll be honest with you, it's very hard to just really appreciate the place that I grew up in when, you know, you look at the beginning of its history when it comes to the Constitution, and it's just bodies and bloodshed. How do you want me to really be proud of that? How can you be proud of that? I don't know. It always confuses me. But people will die on that hill, and you know what? By all means, go right on ahead.
Hatred isn't something you're born with. It gets taught. At school, they said segregation's what's said in the Bible.
That's crazy. Goodness, man. It's so indoctrinated. People are still to this day victims of it.
Live it. You breathe it.
Mm.
You marry it.
I want to pause that because the overall question, and it might be the title of this video itself, is why do we hate? Where does it come from? Because I do believe, I mean, well, I don't know. I don't know what to believe, really. I don't know how far down this rabbit hole goes, but what I do know is that these are things that are taught, you know, from the ground up, from the foundation in your most foundational years of your life. This is indoctrinated. It's just such a shame that this has happened. You know, the question, why do we hate? Where does all of this hatred come from? And I'm happy that this is, you know, where it seems to be getting answered, at least shown a light on. And man, does that hurt when she said, you know, when you marry this hatred. We discussed earlier about this character and the prison that she's in and how she's unable to live a human life because of the hatred that is around her. It's almost like paralysis. It's such a shame. Let's keep it going.
My husband drove one of the cars that night.
And there we go. There we go.
Farm in an earthen dam.
Imagine having to live with that. Going to sleep in the same bed as the person who's committing all these crimes. That is horrific.
The bodies of the 3 missing civil rights workers were discovered this afternoon at an undisclosed grave.
Wow, that's where they hid the bodies. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jesus.
Find a small or large as you take.
My goodness. I'm telling you. This shame, man, it's just... How can you do that to your wife, right?
Recorder. Mr. Bird? Yes, sir. Okay. Go get Anderson. Bring him here. Don't tell him why. Don't tell him anything.
Oh, yeah. Yup. Because if Anderson knows, he is going to lose his mind. It's interesting how the cause and effect from his actions were, you know, homes being burnt down. And Mr. Anderson's actions is now the physical abuse and assault of the person he had interest in. Everything has a cause and effect. Now the question, again, with Mr. Anderson's character is how much is he willing to be shown until he does something? You know, until things aren't games, until you can't have a smile on your face anymore. When you see someone that gave you answers, and because of that, they are laying in a hospital bed, broken and beaten. Again, I wonder how these things are going to change these characters.
Don't you have the whole world to change?
That's right, and I'm changing it.
Oh, you're just as arrogant as you are stupid.
You're changing it too.
I love the conflicts between these characters, man. Wow.
Messing this up just because you're partial to fooling around with witnesses.
Woo! Oh, man, I heard that.
What is that supposed to mean?
New rules. We nail them any way we can, even your way.
Is this you talking or some guy?
Wow. Wow, I'm loving the conversation between these two, the intensity.
You think he would have shot me?
Oh, yes, sir.
He's a ballsy little bastard, isn't he?
He said, oh, yes, sir. Yeah, man, he was not playing around. You see how he turned the tables? Is that who I think it is? Wait a minute. Lieutenant, I've seen you in The Wire, sir.
I say I have no more love to give. I have only anger in my heart today.
Oh, man. You can just
And I want you to
feel
be sick and tired with me.
bubbling hatred.
I am sick and tired of going
From the side that is being victimized
by white men.
by the people that are hurting the people. Hatred is all around. What do you do? Oh, man. How the tables have turned. I remember him. He was at the ladies' hair wash.
And they pulled down his pants. They spread his legs. And they sliced off his scrotum.
Jesus Christ, man. And this is what it was built on, man. That's crazy. And there's pictures with this, by the way.
And he can hardly walk now.
See the fear in his face right there? Imagine the fear in the face of a little kid and that happening to them.
Is he with the Bureau?
Yeah, he's kind of a specialist.
You sure the mayor won't talk about any of this?
No, they kill him.
They say, well, they're going to kill him if he does.
They did the killing.
Sheriff Stuckey?
Wow, that's one way to get answers. How about that? Feels like some Black Ops stuff. You know? If the law doesn't work, we got to get the special forces. We got to do some tactical maneuvers. I'm not opposed to it.
Drag me into your gutter, Mr. Anderson.
These people crawled out of a sewer, Mr. Ward. Now maybe the gutter's where we should be.
Wow, the writing is crazy. That was insane. Don't bring me down to your gutter. But these people came from the shores. Maybe the gutter is where we need to be. Wow. Oh my goodness. I don't even think I need to say anything from that. I'm just going to let y'all interpret it. That was great.
Thank you.
He didn't have nothing to say to that, didn't he? He was like, damn, he was right. I can't say shit to that. That was a great line. You guys let me know if this makes any sense, but I don't know if there's going to be justice, but I sure as hell hope there's retribution. Also, that's the guy from Saw, right? I knew I recognized him. That's Jigsaw, man.
Get in the car, Lester. Else you're gonna have a mighty hard time picking your nose once I've closed this drawer shut.
Woo! Unless you want to play a game. Wow. And of course they got after Lester. He's the squirreler.
This is tricky. They make it look so easy, don't they?
Again, I love how this man uses the smile. And now it's wearing a different shape now. I love that he's still doing it, but he's now enforcing it differently. He's trying to find an answer now.
The night that you beat up your wife, Clinton. Huh? Did you? Did you strike a blow for the white man that night?
Wow. I loved how he used that and flipped it against him.
You smile when the bulldozer ran over the black kid's body? Get here! Get here!
Like I said, there might not be justice, but there's going to be retribution. This is cathartic as hell.
Make no mistake about it, Deputy. I'll cut your fucking head clear off and not give a shit how it reads in the report sheet.
My goodness, this acting is off the damn chain, man. He spun him around. That's crazy. That's crazy. He got this man spinning. Whew, scared the hell out of me. Oh my goodness.
Stay away from the windows!
Wow. Oh man, the tactics that are being used right now. Whew.
I didn't say nothing! I didn't say...
They're giving them their own medicine. That is insane. Let's pause this. Frank Bailey, sentenced to 10 years imprisonment for violation of civil rights laws. 10 years, that's it. 10 years, but hey, we're getting something. Lester Cohen, sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. Lord Swilly, sentenced to 7 years imprisonment. Again, it's not justice, but at least it's retribution. Clinton Bell, sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. Sheriff Ray Stuckley, he's acquitted. Unbelievable. Even within a hierarchy like that. Wow. And the mayor ended it. That is insane. Instead of facing the noise, he chose the coward's way out. Couldn't even face the shame.
He wasn't even in on it. Wasn't even Klan.
Mr. Bird, he was guilty. Anyone's guilty who watches this happen and pretends it isn't.
Wow. Now that's important. I think that line right there is important. Whew. I'm very happy that I don't have to live with that guilt. I'm very happy that I don't have to live with that sense of shame, because I'm telling you, I love my sleep. I love being able to wake up and feel refreshed and to feel like a human being and not have the weight of being a terrible person being on my conscience every morning. If that's something that you have to wake up with, I'm telling you, you're not going to have a good life ahead of you. Your only way to get better is to fully face who you are in the mirror. So that way you can hopefully wake up and be a better person. Because if not, your sleeps, you're not going to have any. I want to pause this frame and just really observe just how they use this wide lens right here. Just how small in comparison he is to this home that was once lived in. You know, and you compare this frame to all the other frames as well, too, of the homes that have been demolished. You know, it's the cause and effect of even the cost of doing nothing, right? Even that has an effect of its own. But I really do like the choice of using a wide angle lens because he's a really big guy. I mean, I'm assuming that he's a tall man. So the fact that they chose to almost have him so tiny in this frame, I don't know, it almost feels like there's a greater ocean out there.
Things will work out. There's enough good people around here to know what I did was right. And enough ladies like the way I fixed it.
How about that? That's funny. That's bittersweet right there.
And on Tuesday...
Wow. The fact that they are doing that in the building that had burnt down. And I'm pretty sure it's actually the church that burnt down, too. That's powerful. What an incredible film this was. What an incredible film, guys. And that is the end to Mississippi Burning. Mississippi Burning. A film that explores the question, why do we hate? How can we tackle something like that? Is it worth tackling? Does it need to be tackled? And why it's important to try. There was a lot of moments within this film that, you know, even off the screen, I just had to pause and just take time to myself and just really digest a lot of the things. And man, throughout that digestion, it was really hard to take in a lot of the conflict, a lot of the substance material, because of just how visceral, how grotesque, how inhumane this story was able to showcase. But more so, I am just incredibly fascinated by the hands that this story was given to, from a direction standpoint, from an actor standpoint, from the writing, the cinematography, the sound, the lighting. Every aspect of filmmaking was brought forth to a 10 when it came to representing this story and how it was supposed to be told, and the interpretation that I think the audience is able to perceive from this. This isn't just racism is bad. I think we all know that, racism isn't just bad. There's steps towards getting to that point. And the exploration of how things came to be and why things came to be are more important than just racism is bad. And I'm happy that this film really tackled that definition. Mississippi Burning took on a shape that I didn't know going into this film. I didn't hear anything about this film going into it. As whether or not if you're new here or not, I go into every film as blind as I possibly can. And to understand the deeper context of this film, the questions that were explored, and the elements that were used to help explore that, I find to be incredibly therapeutic and gives me a tad sense of hope. Because as we saw, justice wasn't properly given, especially if this is a real case. Justice was nowhere near given. Every one of these people were involved with killing innocent people, and they deserve to rot in jail, in prison for the rest of their life. However, that's not the case. But I think what is equally hopeful, at least when it comes to the daunting statement of what I just said, was the retribution and the trying for those who bother to care. For those who bother to try and figure out why this is happening and to do something about it. And to see that in the greater scale outside of the elements within this film, to really take a seat back, to really look at it from the perspective of the director, from the writers, from history, I think is a very noble and incredible reason to why storytelling is important, and more of a reason why it is just terrible that we treat each other like this. Because we all have stories that are meant to be told, and it's a shame that people's stories are being snuffed out, being stamped down, and attempt to be forgotten. But similar to how that last frame was in this film, they are never forgotten. No matter what you do, no matter how badly you try to move people, you try to hurt people, you try to annihilate their culture, their identity, you try to dictate who they are, you try to plant these titles on them, no matter what you do, you can never be forgotten. And I think that is a powerful statement. Going into these characters too, with Mr. Ward and Mr. Anderson, and how the two conflicted with one another. How Mr. Anderson went about his operation by using that smile, and how that smile took a shape of its own into finally creating action. And how Mr. Ward represented the Bureau, how people go to an establishment in hopes of creating greater change. And not to say that it is impossible, because I think the act of going into an institution and hoping to change is a noble one, right? But it's similar to those that, want to be a cop, want to be policemen. It's noble work. I mean, come on, I'm watching The Wire. You already know. But there is more to be done. Similar to Mr. Anderson and Mr. Ward, they had their ideologies and they had their differences, but there needs to be more that goes outside of themselves. And I think the fact that when they finally were able to work together, we were actually able to finally get some type of retribution, I think is a great step in the right direction when it comes to these characters. These two characters were so well written that it is damn near shocking. It really is. I mean, I guess you guys can tell by how many times I've paused and be sure to give my thoughts towards them, but I'm curious to hear yours. Let me know in the comment section, about your thoughts towards Mississippi Burning. Tell me your experiences if you feel comfortable enough, but I highly recommend, conversation and deep dives. It's not just you, it's not just me, it's when we come together and we talk and we have conversations where we can finally make change. I'm not going to be able to get anywhere if I'm just, talking to myself. You're not going to get anywhere just talking to yourself and thinking that we believe what we believe. We have to come together and we have to have discussions. Man, guys, as always, I appreciate y'all. Please stay healthy. Please stay hydrated because we are just getting started.